Hello, everybody. How is everybody today? I hope you're doing well. I see everybody on the chat. So happy to see everybody back. Today we have a great session where we're going to be talking about parent engagement. A couple of things to take care of before we move on to the agenda. I believe Cassandra let everyone know that we are recording. We're recording this just so that we can post it on the Youth Development Task Force website, and we also have been able to send out the recordings after so that you can share with other folks. I'm going to now introduce our lead person today, Adela Barajas. Adela, are you on? Adela is a member of the Youth Development Task Force. She's representing the South area of Los Angeles. So Adela, take it, from here. Not sure if she's having audio problems. Let's see.
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second Youth Development Task Force listening sessions. We are excited to have you all join us. Today, I'm going to have myself and some other parents speak on what we think that could be very useful for the Youth Development Task Force. And I'm here also with Sofía. Sofía, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Sofía, ¿se quiere presentar?
Mi nombre es Sofía. Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sofía.
Mi nombre es Sofía.
My name is Sofía, and I am part of
Comité de Trabajo de Desarrollo Juvenil.
the Task Force Group for Youth Development.
Soy parte de la comunidad de Pacoima.
From the Pacoima community.
Como algunos de ustedes, yo también soy madre.
As some of you are, I'm also a parent.
Es importante tener discusión para
and I believe it's important to have a discussion within parents to create a department.
So thank you, Adela. Thank you, Sofía. Both Sofía and Adela are part of Youth Development Task Force. Sofía is a parent representative appointed, I believe, by Councilwoman, Council President Martinez. And Sofía is part of Pacoima Beautiful, right, Sofía? Again, the Youth Development Task Force was created earlier this year in order to develop a framework for youth development, and which has been a big push of Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, who is our co-chair on these listening sessions. And so today's meeting is going to be, and I'll introduce the Councilwoman in a minute, but today's meeting is going to focus on what parents need, or what parents believe their youth need in order to have healthy youth development in the city. And we have a panel of parents that are going to share some information for us about, with us actually, about what they feel the city can do to address some of the needs that youth have and that parents also have. After the panel, we're going to have a breakout session again where we get to talk in small groups, and then we're going to have our report back. And all this information that is collected is really important because it'll be shared with the task force, and it'll help us to develop a framework and programs, metrics, outcomes that we want for the youth development department in the city. So thank you again for participating. With that, I want to take this moment to introduce Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, who again, as I just mentioned, has been at the forefront of of pushing this notion, this belief, this vision of having a youth development department for the city that is focused on youth, that is focused on outcomes, that is focused on metrics. And she's been at the forefront in pushing this agenda, and we are going to lean on her also to help us get us there. So without further ado, I just want to introduce Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, representative from the 7th District.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Gracias, Sofia y Adela. It's great to see everybody participating in this evening's session. You know, I'm going to be very brief because you all have a lot of great work and information to share. That is an important part of how we really develop a broad youth strategy in the city of Los Angeles. You know, right now we are seeing the absolute worst case scenario for so many kids in our community because of this pandemic. We see how disconnected our kids are from all accessing this very same opportunities to have the same academic environment. There's a great deal of disparity that is occurring across the city. And while there's intermittent investments to help triage this, what we need is sustained investments that are going to help prevent these gaps from happening to begin with. You know, as a mother, I know, from my early days, it wasn't that long ago that I was also one of the youth that we're talking about. And, you know, not all of us gravitate to the same types of programmatic opportunities. I don't believe that our kids are all going to want to just play soccer. I know that so many kids are seeking those opportunities, just as Pacoima Beautiful has some of the young environmental activists. There's ways that we can engage our youth in such a variety of ways that are going to not only be beneficial for their own development, but for the benefit of our community. And when we have an offering of programmatic choices that help meet the youth where they want to be met, I think we are going to have greater success. What I've said many times is that if we want a safer city, then what we need to do is invest in youth, because we will create greater opportunities for our kids to be engaged in a much more productive conversation and more productive activities than to fall into trouble. And they deserve that. The youth of the city deserve that. And it is our responsibility as parents, as youth advocates, to come together and help align the city's financial resources with these priorities. Because right now we don't see that. Right now we see money being thrown at youth programming in a whole variety of ways, and we don't even know that they're being used effectively. We don't know that our kids are really participating and that they're getting everything possible out of them. So this is the work that we have to do. And I want to thank you all for caring enough to be a part of this, because you know, people will say it's going to cost us too much, that it's going to be far too expensive to do it. Well, I'll tell you, the expense of not doing it is far greater. It costs us too much in losing more kids to not having them engaged in more constructive dialogues and helping to put them on a pathway where they reach their highest and best potential. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this. And I want to thank as a parent right now during the pandemic, I know it's tough. It's tough to balance your day-to-day responsibilities and making sure that your kids get everything that you need. So for Sofia, for Adela, to take on this additional responsibility of helping to be part of this task force to help shape what city programming and what we should be doing and investing as a city, to do this on your spare time, on your free time, it's really genuinely appreciated. But I want to thank everybody for being a part of this, because there's no more important conversation for us to be having right now than the one that you're engaged in today. So with that, Ms. Calanche, thank you so much for you leading this group, and all the other task force members. I want to thank you for continuing this momentum, but I'm going to let you guys get to work. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Really appreciate your words. We have a great meeting today, but before we go there, I just want to remind everyone, we have some community agreements that we had. I think Cassandra's going to post them on the chat so that we don't take a lot of time going over them. But I also want to tell you that this is also an opportunity for us to be advocates and to come together to be able to advocate for this investment in young people. And we have to work as a group to push the city to invest in young people. So this is just the first step, but we're going to keep working and keep pushing in order to ensure that we get the investment that we need. Okay, just another quick reminder. Cassandra had posted on the chat, si son personas que necesitan un grupo en español, si nos puede poner su nombre en el chat para que Cassandra pueda ponerlos en un grupo en español. Okay, so vamos a empezar la junta. Le voy a pasar el micrófono. Sorry, I just started speaking Spanish. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think I find it a lot easier to speak Spanish. Okay, so we're going to move on the agenda to, I'm going to pass it over to Sophia, who's going to introduce our panelists. We have the opportunity today to meet some amazing parents who are raising their children in LA, who have gone through ups and downs and have been there for their kids, who have taken advantage of resources, who have also experienced the lack of resources in the community. So we have a lot to learn from them, and we will get to know a little bit about their thoughts on youth development and youth development needs, and then we'll continue after that with the breakout groups. So Adela, I'll pass it on to you.
Okay, hi guys, again, welcome and thank you so much for joining us today. So we have 5 excellent panelists for today. We have Skip Townsend, Yadira, Olivia, and Lydia, and Antonieta. So I'm not sure if, I'm just quick checking if Skip is on, because he would be our first opening. And if not, we'll go ahead and start with Yadira and we'll let Skip be second.
Yes, Skip's on you. Press it once after you.
So Skip, are you online?
Skip's on you without.
Yadira?
This is join with or without.
I'm here.
Okay. So hi, Yadira, you want to go ahead and share a little bit of your story? Yadira will be sharing, as a mother of toddlers in LA, what challenges has she faced so far in being a mom in the city of LA, and what can we do to improve?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everybody for the space, the space you provide for us. So my name is Yadira Hernandez. I'm currently living in South Central LA. I'm a mother of a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And I'm of course a fairly new mother, given that I have a 4-year-old, and given, and I've been living in LA, in South Central since about 2009. So I definitely have a fair sense of, what the community looks like. As my kids grow older, it's definitely becoming increasingly important to me to, look at what kind of resources are available for, children as young as 4, but definitely keeping my eyes out to what other resources are available. With the current pandemic in both, for me, it's like there's different pandemics going on, but with the current pandemic, being a mother of 2 brown males in the current society where, violence is being inflicted on, Black and brown communities, how do I make sure that they're given the proper tools so that I can, I can help create and develop positive youth developments within them. But what does this look like, and what are we missing in our communities? I think that a lot of it has to do with access and of course funding, I'm sure. But what after school programs and mentoring programs are available to this community and who is offering them? And often that's very little to none. Or if they are offering them, who has the accessibility to go. And by that, I mean, I'm in a privileged situation where I can take time off work to allow my kids to do that, or I can take time to ensure that they get on the bus and to, you know, dot my I's and cross my T's. But often parents are working, you know, 12-hour work days, and they're not able to do that. So what type of support are we providing to the parents, and what type of support are we providing to the kids themselves, you know, in order for them to be able to do this? So that's something that I know I've seen. The type of programs are also very different of what I want to see in the approach. I think like for me, you know, having this holistic approach of, yes, I think it's so important to have after school recreational programs and mentoring programs, but what about the, you know, emotional approach? How do we teach our kids to have like a conflict resolution curriculum, or being able to communicate effectively so that they're better prepared to deal with conflicts, both when they arise at home and when they arise at school? Or how do we provide them with the tools in order for them to be able to resolve conflicts? So it's a very holistic approach for me, you know, where how do we treat the emotional? And often I don't see that. And I have to go elsewhere to find that. And it doesn't live in this community. It's not offered within this community. When it is offered, it's very limited. So I think that that's one of the pieces that I'm definitely missing when I try to go out there and look for resources. I'm often looking at this holistic approach.
Send him the info, the link. Just send him the link.
It's okay. So that's I guess speaking on you know, what I'm often looking for. That's really what it is. It's you know, what programs are out there. The quality of programs sometimes isn't what it is. You know, in terms of like who's offering. The arts and culture is often not there. It's a missing piece that we have within our community, where I have to search very deeply in order to find piano classes, in order to find guitar classes. It's often very limited because I've been there. I've looked for that for my 4-year-old. And I know that, like, you know, it's early perhaps, but maybe it's not, it develops a certain level of skill. So for me, it's I think it's important to have that educational, you know, after school programs and mentoring, and very educational focused and centric. But what, you know, the other part is like, how do we develop arts and culture and conflict resolution and emotional stability and resilience? Really, how do we create our how do I make my children be resilient when we live in a society where they need to be resilient because they're brown, you know, and we need to make sure that they're communicating effectively. I don't know how much time I have. Adela, I don't, am I close? Yeah, okay, well, I can wrap it there. Yeah, but that's a little bit of what I've experienced with my children.
Thank you, Yadira. So Skip is trying to get on the line so that he will be next, but we're going to go ahead and move to Olivia or Antonieta. Let's give Antonieta an opportunity. Antonieta is going to share with us a little bit about her background dealing with 2 teenagers during, she's a victim survivor, meaning that her son was murdered. So, Antonieta.
Sí, buenas tardes. ¿Aló? Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. As they introduced me, my name is Antonieta Garcia, and I am a survivor, a crime survivor. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional, but it was very hard for me. Right now, my children are now 23 and 19 years old, but for me, it was very hard to search for mental health resources because my Medi-Cal would not qualify, because Medi-Cal does not cover this type of help for them. And so I would like to know what kind of resources there is for, just in case, God forbid, this happens with another family. I don't want them to go through the same thing I went through. Why? Because it was really hard for me. It was really hard for me to try to find resources, mental health resources to my children, and what kind of resources there are right now. Because for me, I didn't have Social Security back then, so I wasn't able to receive the proper help that I needed, the psychological help. So for me, it was very tough times. There were very tough times, and as a mother, I was very involved in the community activism. I tried to look after school. I signed them up into after school programs, into park programs, as Ms. Adela mentioned, and so it helped me a lot. But at that moment is when I really needed it the most, to really have, you know, when they lost their brother, because it hurt them a lot. So I would like to know what kind of resources there are, so that these kids, these children, get the proper help. Also, if there were resources, sometimes I had to pay, and sometimes I don't have the financial resources to pay for these classes. What was very helpful for my son was that at that time was boxing. He was involved in boxing. He said that he would take on all that anger and release it, but I had to pay for those classes. So we found them. They were in East LA. Sometimes I wasn't able to take them all the way over there. He was a place, but always I had to pay. And at that time, I'm a single mother, so it wasn't enough. My income wasn't enough for me to provide for my child. And my daughter, what she did was she became involved into a football team. She was the only girl in that football team. And she told me that it was very helpful for her. Sometimes we don't really realize it, what they need for them to release their loneliness, their anger. Sometimes they say, you know what, oh, my parents do not understand me. It would also be nice to have parent training, parent workshops as to how to deal with our adolescent, because it's a very difficult age for them. And so at the same time, to have resources. It doesn't matter if there's money or not, but there's parents that could pay for that, but there's parents that can't. And so it would be nice to have resources for everyone, for them to be free, that could be at everyone's reach. Because I believe that, especially right now at these times where we're under a global pandemic, it's a little more difficult. Before it was difficult, now it's extra difficult. So that's a point where I would like to touch, where I would like to see for the youth and for the parents, workshops for both. To me, it was very helpful for me to attend workshops. I became very involved in my children's school programs, but we always need resources for our community, especially for the parents that need the help, for the kids that need the help, so that our youth can grow into a better environment. And yeah, I mean, that's all that I can say at the moment. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Antonieta. So next we have Skip Thompson, second call. Are you in yet?
Yes, ma'am.
And there he is. Welcome, Skip.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having an interpreter, too.
I know that you joined late. If if you're listening to Spanish, there is a button that says translation. Go ahead and click English, and then we'll be hearing the conversation in English. So Skip Thompson will be talking to us about the challenges of all ages of youth, since he has 12 kids of all ages, and he also is a community liaison that works with a lot of youth. and adults, but today he's going to be focusing on the parent of the youth and what resources we need in the city of LA so that we could go ahead and add them to our list of resources.
So I just want to say that it was really heartfelt listening to the young lady who spoke before me. That's why I said I'm glad for the interpreter so that I can understand. I want to make sure that I stay on point with what you're really looking for, because I have 12 children and because I do the work as well for intervention in the community. What I want to do is I want to make sure I stay on point with the topic. So when you talk about parenting, what resources needed for parenting the children.
Skip, I'm sorry. We're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. There's, it's like your sound is breaking up a little bit. I don't
It
want to.
sounds mechanical.
Oh, there we go. Oh wait, was that you?
No, that was me, Mr. Jones.
I was
But
like,
Skip,
okay, fixed.
Skip sounds mechanical.
Yeah.
Okay, so is it better with my screen off?
Your sound is better.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, what I was going to say is that staying on point, the resources that I believe are needed are going to be, and I just want to tip my hat to the young lady who spoke before me. It was very heartfelt. But I think tutoring, I think that a lot of times the disconnection with the children, with the parents, and with the school is just effective communication. The child does not understand or know how to say that I'm not following, I'm not picking up on the things that are going on. One of the things the school does is the school will give us a grade of an A, B, C, or even now it's satisfactory or whatever. And the children are being measured. And by being measured, there's a sense of self-esteem, low self-esteem that comes with doing poorly in school. So I think that we need to have tutors. We need to have better communication with the children. A lot of time what I've seen is there's a lot of talking to the child and not listening to the child, because each child is going to learn differently. One child may learn through pictures and stories. The other child may learn through lecture and reading. So I just think that we need to work better at communicating with the parents, the teachers, and the students. Another thing that I've seen is every time there's interaction at the school with parents and teachers, that is very low low numbers of parents that show up. So I think, that's another thing, parents are working and, doing 2 and 3 different jobs. And before you know it, we've just given our children to a school to babysit and hope that they will do better. And then, of course, when they come home, they're in the streets with their friends, and now their friends become the influence. So it's a number of things. I can go on and on. Also, just, using my own experience, because I heard the young lady talk about single parent home. Well, that is a major, major stigma for children. A lot of times the children feel abandoned. A lot of times the children feel abandoned because they're in a single parent home. Like, why is the other parent not here? A lot of times the child may blame themselves, and then there's so much missing when a mother raises boys. There are so many things that I believe a man has to teach a boy in order for the boy to become a man. And we ask the mothers to do a job that really isn't theirs. So it's unnatural. So I think it's a number of different things that different issues we have, but I see a number of solutions. I see a number of different programs. And I don't know if the young lady was in the Valley or not, but there are a number of programs in the Valley where the children can learn boxing. I want to say communities in school, but I think it's Champions in Service, Blinky Rodriguez and his team. Blinky's the #1 fighter from back in the day. So we just have to find the resources and create a list, create a list to be able to pass out to the different parents or people who are interested to make sure they know where all the resources are that may be low cost or no cost. So thank you, Adela, for having me.
Thank you, Skip. I know you're rushing from meeting to meeting, but I'm hoping that you could stay on so that you could lead one of our work. Okay, next we have a single mom who's gone through trauma and yet has managed to to work through this, but I would like for Lydia to share some of her experiences being a single mom and being in LA, and what kind of resources she could really use in our communities. Go ahead, Lydia.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lydia. I'm a single mother of a 4-year-old daughter. I lived in LA. I was raised in LA, South LA to be more specific. I went through trauma back in 2014 when my brother was killed around the corner from my house. I didn't have many resources, luckily, and I was fortunate enough that Adela was sent our way. We were not offered therapy besides us going to Adela. My family, we went through so much trouble, but thankfully, like I said, we had Adela and Olivia helping us out throughout the entire process after my brother was killed. Some resources that I've looked for my daughter within my community are baseball, t-ball programs, ballerina programs, music programs. I've had to travel or commute 5+ miles from my community outside of the city of LA to look for these resources. I also have my 2 nephews, one who is 8 years old and the other one 6 years old, both being brown males. And growing up in the city of LA, I believe we need more resources for them as well, for them to understand what we're going through, especially right now with what society is going through, them being picked on, or because they're males or because they're brown, or just these are the resources that I've or within my community. But like I've said, I've had to travel out of the community to look for these resources. Something else that I'm a working mom. I go to school at night. It's hard for me to have a babysitter for my daughter. Thankfully, I have my sister who helps me out so much. And I mean, those are the resources that I wish that we had within our community, but unfortunately, we have to travel to other cities to look for those resources.
Thank you, Lydia. We have our last panelist, which is Olivia. Olivia works with middle school parents, or middle school children's parents, who also, you know, she sees on a daily basis and knows and understands some of their challenges. Olivia, are you here?
Hi everyone, my name is Olivia, and I've been working with Adela probably like 9 years now. And I'm a mother of 8 and 9 grandchildren. And I didn't have that problem per se with my kids because I was always involved in their while they were growing up. And but with the youth I work with, I noticed that we had a lack of mental health assistance for parents. They care for the children, and the fear of not getting those resources because they are undocumented. So I would like to see that either a brochure that explains that they can get those resources for free, no matter what their immigration status is, because there's a lot of parents that are afraid to go look for resources to help their kids because of their immigration status. And the other thing that I would like to see too, like the resources that other kids have outside of our area, that is South Central LA, could come to South Central LA, like theater, arts, dancing lessons, piano lessons, all those type of resources that are in other communities. The only thing that I thank for is when I met Adela and the programs that she had in place with the park. And that's where my kids used to go. So, but other than that, the kids around our neighborhood didn't have nothing to do but be in the corner with other grown men and women that was doing whatever they were doing at that time. And with the youth that I work at school, I see a lot of stuff that went through, like even kids being abused by family members because they were taking care of them, and it was no resources for those kids where they can go and tell other people what they were going through for help. And the other thing was too that the lack of understanding that they had at that time. Parents are most likely, like when they come from other countries and they want to make sure that their kids have a home, clothes to put on, and food on their table, work up to 14 hours a day. So they didn't have that chance to spend with their kids. And that's when the kids tends to go out on the streets. They don't have any resources to go after school. The after school program will be until 6 o'clock in the evening. So from 5 o'clock, say, to 7 or 8 when the parent get home, that kid wasn't at home. That kid was in the corner. So we need programs that will at least be after school programs are closed, they can go to those places and be safe. And lack of parenting, like I was saying. Parents don't have enough time to spend with their kids, the quality time to spend with their kids because of their work. We need to have resources for those parents to make sure that they make time to spend with their kids. And I think that's all that I have for now.
Thank you, Olivia.
I didn't prepare myself that well enough. I did.
Thank you, Olivia. And thank you all, all panelists for sharing your story.
Ooh, Adela, we lost you. We lost your sound, Adela.
Okay, there we go. I'm hoping that I said thank you to our panelists, and hopefully you guys will stay and participate in our breakout sessions. And in the chat, there is a lot of parents engaging and, speaking about the lack of parents' participation, or how we can get our parents involved and, engage them in spending the time. But like, our panelists are saying, sometimes it's really hard because our parents are the parents that are the essential workers today, that are working 14 hours and such in a day. So I think that the center being able to provide quality programming for our youth will, help the parents, because if the schools are open later than just, 4 o'clock or left, the parks are open. So then that would give us the time. Anyways, back to Lou. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adela. Thank you, Sophia. I also want to thank the panelists, Skip, Yadira, Antonieta, Lydia, Olivia. Thank you for sharing your story. I know it's not easy just to come in front of a group of people you don't know and to share your stories and your thoughts. So thank you so much. Again, the reason that we are here is because there's this movement to create a youth department. The city of LA is the only large city that doesn't have a youth department. There's been talks about a youth and families department or a youth development department. Whatever it ends up being, we want it to be driven by the community, and that's why we're having these sessions. We want to hear what it is that the community needs and wants. I mean, I'm hearing like we need centers that stay open late, right? We can't just close our centers at 6 o'clock because some parents work till later, right? We need services that other communities, more affluent communities have. We want them in our communities. We want them in South LA. We want them in East LA. We want them in Pacoima and the Valley, right? But that's what we want to hear. And we have an opportunity to influence the city council and the mayor because they're asking us to put something together. So that's why we're here, and I appreciate your time in helping us kind of delineate what we want our city to offer our young people. Okay, so what we're gonna do with the next like 45 minutes that we have left is we're gonna do some breakout rooms so that we can have more time to have a conversation where we could jot down some notes and get some insight from you all about what parents need to support their kids. And then also last session we had what we felt that youth needed and also prioritizing youth programs. Well, we want to hear what parents need, right? Sometimes it's easy to blame parents, but parents need a lot of support as well because sometimes they have more than one job and they're managing, raising kids and working, trying to pay the rent. So we want to find out what parents want, and then we want to hear from parents what they want for their kids. So those are the two questions that we're going to do in the breakout. We want to find out what parents need in order to support their children's healthy development and help them succeed in the future. We already heard some things from the panelists, and we also want to hear from parents what they feel their kids need, right? So not just support parents, but what kinds of programs they want for their kids. So we're gonna probably spend maybe like 30 to 40 minutes, I believe, in the breakout, and then we'll do a report back. And remember, all this information is going back to the Youth Development Task Force that then will be included in the recommendations and report to City Council. So now we're gonna do our breakouts, and you'll have a facilitator in every breakout session, and you're gonna be split into breakout. And remember, there's a Spanish breakout. I guess we're gonna move now. Are we all back? We have very short time to do a report back. So we'll ask, look at all these senses. Awesome. So we, let's see. I think people are trying to see that.
Tomorrow's the last day to fill out your census. Remember to fill out your census, everyone.
Yes, I see all the census. Yes,
quick reminder from your Spanish interpreter, make sure we select the channel again as we come back into the general session. Make sure everyone selects a language. Una vez más, les invitamos a todos, conforme llegamos a la sesión general, que elijamos un idioma, el idioma de su preferencia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Edgar. You're doing a wonderful job. We're really happy.
Thank you.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time. My group, we had a great conversation. Hopefully you had a great conversation in your group. So how many groups do we have? I think we have like 6 or so. So, and I don't know if they're numbered, but let's just take a group. Who wants to go first? And just do a quick, maybe Astrid. So let's do a quick like 1 to 2 minute summary of what you discussed in your group.
Okay, I had the pleasure of speaking with Lydia, David, and Katia, and we had a conversation just about really providing a space where parents, young people, counselors, teachers, nonprofit organizations have a place to go where we provide resources. So when we think about young people, we're not just thinking about just the young person, we're thinking about the parents also. So they have different things that they need to have access to. So when you're having, let's say, college readiness workshops, you're not just gonna provide the information to the young person and leave the parent out of the conversation. So we're thinking, showing the parent what one of the notes was, having access to what the educational system looks like in the US, first of all, for undocumented families. So when they come from a different country and they come into the US, they don't know about the A through G requirements. They don't know any of that. So how do we walk the parent through that to understand that so that they can be there and better support their young person? But we're also wanting to see a place where all of this information lives, so that anyone can access it and connect young people specifically to where their needs are. And then we also found that we want to see more programs that invest in our communities and our young people. So not just exactly providing sports, because sports are always provided, but what about photography classes? What about coding classes? What about mommy and me classes or daddy and me classes? So it's just really about thinking outside the box and providing more programs for our communities. And then we also can't leave out our undocumented population. So that's a group of people that always gets forgotten. And we want to really make sure that they're at the forefront of everything they're doing and that we're really thinking about them and we're providing resources for everyone. If anyone in my group wants to add anything that I heard maybe.
Okay, thank you so much. That was awesome. I like this idea of like having everything in one place. Okay, who wants to go next? Next group?
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Araceli and we were team 4. I am a parent from Alma Services and we had a really good discussion amongst the 7 of us. For the parents, we believe what they need is self-care, number 1, because we're not taking care of ourselves sometimes. Positive role models for our children, especially when we have families that are single parent. And when it comes to our students, we do believe that we strongly need financial literacy. I think that that's something that we need to teach our youth right now, because we need to teach them between I want to I need, you know? And then also the emotional intelligence, and that piggybacks to our parents, because a lot of us as parents coming from Hispanic, we don't understand what it means to be anxious, to be angry. We don't know how to identify those different emotions. So I think that's something. And we also saw like in our communities that we do need like more funding for sports for our families, because sometimes the sports are available, but our families cannot afford them because you know, as is, they're already working 2 or 3 jobs, but then they have 2 or 3 kids, you know what I mean? And it's a bit hard for us to be able to supply those sports. So that's what we had. I don't know if anybody else would like to add something, but that's what we pretty much went over.
Thank you, Araceli. That was great. That was group 4. Any group that wants to jump in, go ahead. The next group.
Hi, everyone. My name's Aurora. I was part of group 9. Something that we talked about, which I think has already been said, parents need more comprehension. So in order for them to be able to understand the resources that are being offered and understand the support that's available to them, specifically for our immigrant parents who fear asking for help. There's also communication barriers, so bridging that, because it will make a big difference when they're asking to be connected with the help that there is. And then resources are there, parents are just not able to connect. So once again, bridging that and helping them have, whether it's one place or one org, community program, so on and so forth, that can help bridge them and connect them to these resources. And then something more is more parenting groups, not just for our youth, of course, but for our parents, to give them the support that they need, give them that time, whether it's to share ideas, share concerns, and then sometimes they end up helping each other. I know with our family group that we lead, or that Letty leads, they've been able to share some resources that they themselves use with other parents that has been helpful.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Next group. Anybody want to jump in?
Los que estuvimos en el taller con los padres en español, entonces hicimos unos puntos bien rapiditos. Es apoyo emocional, efectivamente, los padres también necesitamos ese apoyo emocional y en este momento necesitamos ese apoyo a diferentes plataformas, porque vemos, y me incluyo, que no sabemos de tecnología mucho y entonces cómo vamos a ayudar, cómo vamos a dar también un video, tenemos que idealizar algo como padres para motivar a otros padres, que vengan, que sepan qué es lo que se está realizando y hacia dónde va todo esto. Eso es todo.
Gracias, Meche. A ver, ¿otro grupo? No, ya estoy hablando español otra vez. Another group?
Yeah, we had that we need more like workshops for the parents. We need programs for the kids. And the lack of mental health services for those parents and also for the kids. Understanding your child, have more resources for also for the parents and children that will benefit them at the end. I don't have the notes because they disappear. But that was what we were most looking at the programs that we need for the kids, and I think they will give you a list of what we talk about, and also for the parents.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alina, were you part of that group? Or were you going to say?
Yes, I
anything?
was. Yeah, we were a group. I cannot. Can y'all hear me?
Alina, Yadira, Maria, Olivia, and Olivia.
Did you have anything to add, Alina? I don't know. I just saw that you were going to turn that.
Can y'all hear me? It's because my computer's being weird, but
Yeah,
we
we
spoke
can
about workshops, you know, understanding the child needs, effective communication, general parenting workshops, trauma-informed workshops, understanding trauma and behaviors, working through the traumas, parent support groups, you know, having dialogues amongst other parents and maybe sharing best practices. Parent retreats would be really cool where they get to tap into their leadership roles and styles. Clinical and mental health services is something that's not accessible, and we spoke about dismantling the stigma around mental health. And self-care is something really important for parents and the youth. And for the youth, we spoke about having arts, dance, theater, and for it to be year-round, not just seasonal. Music, acting, mechanics, home economics, financial literacy, self-care, self-awareness, self-efficacy, mindfulness, self-soothing, STEM, robotics, coding, and science. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Next group. Do we have another group?
Yes, so I'll go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Philip. So in my group, I had Sandra, I had Blinia, Otisha, and sorry, this just jumped like 6 sheets.
Rondre.
Figure out where I'm at. Rondre, yeah, sorry. There you go. So we talked about a few things, actually a lot of things. We wanted to get parents more involved in committees. Their opinions are important. Including them in surveys, encouraging parents to participate in them, knowing what's in the community, so like parent newsletters and stuff like that, emails, announcements, however we can communicate with them, having flexible meeting times with them, because, you know, like they work, everybody has different times that they have to show up. Multilingual services are important. Similar services for youth, we need for parents. So like not just academic programming and stuff like that, but also food banking, families of victims of crimes, helping getting them access to like CalFresh and the application process and stuff like that, and any other community resources, just to help them navigate and ultimately become independent and be able to like navigate these resources on their own, is the ultimate end game that we are hoping for. Because, you know, like teaching them is one thing, but being able to show them how to do it themselves, and them being able to do it themselves is a different different thing to tackle. So ultimately, independence with that is what we're looking for as well. How to advocate for themselves is a big one. So like being able to stand up for themselves, and how to like communicate effectively and stuff like that. Sorry, the notes keep on jumping for some reason. I don't know why. Rental assistance was something that Rondre brought up as well for parents. That's a big one. Mental health services is a big one. Stress relief, how to deal with stress. And help them like be more lenient with requirements for like programming. So I know like we were talking about how some programs have requirements and like deadlines that they have to meet, submit paperwork and stuff like that. Well, the parents have a lot of things on their plate right now. So like if they miss a deadline with a submission or something by a couple hours or a day or two or something like that, they shouldn't be penalized or something, or like completely kicked out of the program or have to reapply. Like, yeah, I know CalFresh does that. Like if you miss something and you don't submit it within like a specific time frame, then you have to like redo everything all over again. And I know a lot of parents, like that can be a long process, especially when you're trying to take care of three kids and like run a household and stuff like that, you know. So it can get hectic. They were also bringing up for the youth 3 prongs: culture, academics, and physical activity. Green spaces in the community, socio-emotional and cultural learning, stress management, alternatives to counseling, like horse therapy. They mentioned that in like Compton or South Central, they have not many, but they have ranches where you can like go around on horses and stuff like that. They have gardening. So like I know at Legacy we were talking about, or there's like plans to try to do like a community garden, but we have like snags that we need to work through and stuff like that. So like there's different things that that were brought up. But yeah, that was pretty much reading through the notes. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Philip and your group. We are close. Well, we're a little bit over time, but is there another group? I'm going to do the last group. Is there another group that hasn't presented?
Yeah, we had a group where I did not get the names of everyone that was in our group, but we talked in programming, we talked ending the restrictions to funding and trying to avoid having this department help the small community organizations, CBOs, deal with all the logistics of writing and having to report, but allowing an organization to receive the funding instead of it being tailored to one section of the organization, to allow the organization to determine where the funding is needed and use it as needed instead of as told to. Because I think that, you know, in LA, we have different communities with different cultures within a community, and understanding the cultures is really important. For parent support, you know, helping advocate and changing the law that would require or allow a parent to visit the school. And we're talking about the essential worker parent, the parent that, you know, everyone else could be at the school that works in the office, but yet the person that works in the warehouse remains in the warehouse because he is needed at work. So finding a way that allows parents to be engaged in a real way, so that way they understand. Allowing parents to attend a therapy session with their child instead of the child being sent with the grandma to a doctor's appointment where the grandma does not really know what the needs are for a child. Other things that we talked about were allowing organizations, or this department to allow organizations to do what they need to do, like youth leading youth, or for the youth from the youth. I think it's one of the organizations that was there, shared their programming, where the youth decide what they want to do, and then the youth leader pretty much facilitates and the space that they need and everything else that might come with it. And we spoke about a lot of resources.
Awesome, thank you. And then we're going to collect the notes as well. So, okay, let me just do my group really quick. My group, we had Alma Family Services, we had El Nido, we had Academia Avance, Changes. It was a great conversation. I'm just gonna pick a few things. A lot of the stuff was already stated, but we wanted to make sure that parents practice self-care, that they get wellness, so more workshops for parents, more technology workshops, and providing parents with the technology tools that their kids need at home and Wi-Fi, parent support groups, parent mindfulness and wellness, breaking the mental health stigma, advocacy, like self-advocacy, teaching parents how to advocate for themselves and how to advocate for their kids at school, leadership development. And then I thought this was cool, like hobbies for parents, you know, things for parents to do that is outside of kind of like their normal like work and housework and parenting. And then additionally, things that were important that we felt are missing right now in our city is for programs to stay open late, like way late, not like 6:30, but like 8, 9 o'clock, so that kids have a place to complete their homework if they need it, if they need the space. We need safe transportation so kids can go even outside their community. They talked about like how some programs pick up kids at school. Gaps for like kind of like the middle school age, and kind of something what like Adela said is that city funding, usually you're given money to do a program the city wants you to do versus like giving you the funding to expand what you do well, right? To expand your capacity. So you could be a small org, but you're doing this thing in the community that you do really well, to give you funding to do that for more kids or more families.
Exactly.
Also, outreach is really important. So we talked about kind of like there's 211 where you could call and find out what services there are. A lot of kids and parents and even teachers or counselors don't know what's out there for youth. So having like a central place where you could call, or a website where like you could punch in your name and address and it'll tell you all the different places that you can go to get free or affordable after school or youth development services. So those are some of the things that the group came up with. Are there any, did I miss any groups? I just want to make double check because I didn't go in order. Okay, so let me tell you what's next really quick and then we'll sign off because I know we're a little bit over time. So we have a couple of things going on. We have a survey that we're collecting. We're trying to collect 1,000, responses from youth because we want this for youth to also inform what the youth development department does. So we've been pushing the survey, and I think that you'll get it in a follow-up email. Please have youth complete the survey. It's actually pretty cool, pretty fast. Next meeting we have is next Tuesday, which is a really cool session. It's going to be led by David Turner, and we're going to be talking about how to create a youth development department that provides youth with power, with decision-making power. What that power looks like, that's what we're going to ask you, right? So we want to make sure we get a lot of youth to participate, a lot of organizations. We want youth possibly to define what programs they want, or to prioritize programs, or what funding or how much funding. We want you to have say in policy making. So that's what the conversation is going to be about, because we want to make sure if we create a youth development department that youth have power in this department and are not just tokenized like, oh, we're doing all this for you, but they don't have a say. So that's next Tuesday at 5 o'clock. So that's the next session. And let's see the survey. Yes, we need more youth. And yeah, I think that's it. And then, so the last thing I'll leave you with is the importance of this work that we're doing. All this information is being collected and going to be organized, and it's going to be part of a report to the city council. But also, I mean, something for us to think about is, I had a conversation with oh, yeah, before somebody just said about the photo. I had a conversation with Councilwoman Rodriguez today, and she asked me, like, are the folks participating in these sessions, you know, why aren't they pushing for getting the mayor and council to use some of the money that they're diverting from police to maybe start the youth department, like even just set it up this year, which wouldn't take a lot. So she asked if the group would consider even a letter to council and the mayor about the importance of having a youth department, even if it doesn't get fully set up, but just to get it started. Once it's set up, then we could still have conversations about how to build it out, right? So that's something to think about, and we could talk a little bit more about it at the next session, or we just might email you to see if you want to sign on. But that's something that she brought up, because everybody's pushing for different things, but why aren't we pushing for getting the department funded now? So that's something she wanted me to share. And then lastly, I think that Michelle or Cassandra, we want to do our picture. So I don't know how that works.
I have a quick question. How do we reach the youth development task force on social media? I was looking for the picture from the last time and I couldn't find the group, or what is it called under?
Yes. Where are we putting the picture? Where are we putting the information? Oh, there it is. That's on the, okay, so there's a social media, Invest in Youth Co., which is kind of the social, that's where they're posting the pics. But then the Youth Development Task Force has its own website. Can you post it on the chat? I think it's like YDTF.org, right? Something like that. We'll email this information to you all, because we do a follow-up right after tomorrow. Oh, there's the other one. Okay, we'll email this information. Okay, so who's gonna do the picture? Who's gonna, I don't know how to do all that. I want to thank the facilitators before I forget. Thank you so much for stepping in today. And I want to thank the panelists one more time. Thank you, everybody, once again. You're part of a historic movement to create this department. Have a good evening. Hope you get to have dinner and enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay, see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.